Hello, TikTok, Periscope, and YouTube. This is Jim Malone coming to you live on Dallas Trading Floor number 28, April 20th, 2020, Monday. Very interesting day in the market. Definitely, the market is still moving higher. It isn't a confirmed uptrend, believe it or not. We are sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was very briefly at the beginning of the day, I was short the DIA, which is the diamond. As the trend moved against me, I closed that short, and I'm currently all in cash right now, taking a look at this market. Very interesting. We still just don't know what the outlook is going to be. I can't imagine that the retail stocks and other sectors are going to hold on too much longer, because we're going to start to see we're going to start to see reporting. I think it's going to get ugly, but for right now, the market is actually trending up, and so I'm waiting for a reversal. But I do have some interesting plays for you going forward on this, and of course, I'm trying to put together a list of alerts to send out to everybody. And you can basically get on the list by going to www.dallastradingfloor.com and then just put in the ask in the comment section. There's a comments tab. Just put in your information in there and you'll be on the list, so that you get all the updates of sort of the trading ideas that I have, and going forward, and also any questions that you have. Also, just if you want to call in, leave a message for me on the telephone. It's area code 214-233-5087. My name is Jim Malone, and I'm an independent trader at Dallas Trading Floor. And I'm actually coming to you from a remote location today, as we are under the coronavirus mandate, and we are not at our normal location. But hopefully, Texas being one of the first states probably to reopen, hopefully we'll be back soon, and we'll come to you directly from our office in Dallas, in North Dallas. Just wanted to kind of go through some very interesting things. By the way, this is available on Periscope if you're interested in that, if you're interested in seeing the charts that I'm putting up. And they're at pscp.tv/Dallas Trading Floor, and it's live on there right now, so you can take a look at it. It works very well on iPhones or Android, as well as with just regular web. So that's a good way to go. What are your thoughts on oil? Well, interestingly enough, oil is basically collapsing. I mean, it's going to be, it's as low as it's been since before 2000, actually. And it's causing a lot of weakness in the market. It's going to have some very dire effects on the real estate market here in Texas, more so in the Houston area than up here in Dallas, because Dallas has a little bit more diversified economy than Houston does, but it's going to be very serious. And so, there's just going to be massive shutdowns in the Permian. Companies like Halliburton, Schlumberger, those companies are going to be in very world of hurt. That's all. I mean, 99 cents a gallon. Wow. That's unbelievable. It's that price. I mean, it is extremely low here in Dallas, and it is, there's just a lot of oil out there. And people are just you can fill up now, but you can't go anywhere because of this coronavirus thing. So go figure. I mean, first time in my life. I mean, I haven't seen gasoline under $1 a gallon pretty much since I was a child. I mean, to be honest with you, it's just amazing. Oklahoma can't. Yeah, I think. Oh man, I think Oklahoma is going to be hurt hard. And it's going to be it's just going to be a tough road for a lot of people. Now, when will oil come back? I certainly don't know the answer to that question. If I did, I would be the oracle. But even Warren Buffett is getting killed in this environment. I'm currently all in cash. That's the reason I'm trying to figure out market direction and plays to make possibly in this market. Now, I closed a long position that I had on Tesla. I made very good money on it last week. I had purchased Tesla for about $7.30 a share, $7.30 and change, and then I sold a call option on it, a $7.30 call option, and it traded above that on Friday, and so then my position was sold out. I did quite well on that. There's another potential play on that I'm going to put up on the chart here that I've laid out on Tesla, which might be a good play. The thing about Tesla is that it tends to be bucking the general position in the market, so it's very interesting. Amazon. Now here's the thing about Amazon, Netflix, and all those. They're great stocks, but everybody's piling into them. And I suspect that we may have a pullback on them. They're still great. I mean, everybody likes Walmart because basically they're going to become America's grocery store. I don't think there's a question about that. And so some of the people are doing well, but a lot of companies are doing poorly. I mean, something like 15 to 20% of people in the restaurant industry now are unemployed. I mean, I think it's going to be people haven't experienced this lack of cash. I mean. By the end of summer, I mean, I literally see people, unfortunately, like in my home state of California, basically, a lot of homeless people. I mean, I know that's terrible, but in terms of the REITs and all those kind of things that have rental properties, they're very, very bad place to hide right now because they're not going to get rent. So just a thought on that. On my screen on Periscope, pscp.tv/Dallas Trading Floor, I have the top 40 groups that are up right now. Interestingly enough, and this is one of the reasons why I've been very interested in Tesla in the last few weeks and the last few months, is because the number one group currently in of all the stock groups, and there's 197 of them, is automotive. You wouldn't know that. You would think, wow, Ford is in there, GM is in there, and they're just not doing well. But guess what? That's primarily one company, and that one company is Tesla. So it's bucking the trend. And number three group in terms of its strength is internet marketing. Well, that makes sense because that's people like Amazon, Shopify, companies like that. Very good, very strong. That trend isn't going to end, and those are going to get stronger as we go forward. So those are also areas to look for potential. Now, one of the things I also did over the weekend is I identified one area which I think has been really off the radar, and I think there's some potentially really good trades in. And this is the mining area. Now you would think, God, mining, why would it be good? Because typically in downturns, commodities are terrible. But the commodities I'm talking about are the gold miners. And there is one stock in that. Obviously, there's Barrick, and a lot of people know about that one. But there is a stock called Franco-Nevada, symbol FNV, and it's a very interesting company because they take junior positions in all of the best gold miners. And I do think that based on everything, I think that there's going to be, at least temporarily, there's going to be a movement into gold, and I think that the gold companies are going to have somewhat of do somewhat better than they normally have. Now, Barrick, which is a symbol GOLD, is trading. It's trading in the 20s, which is kind of good. Now, typically, this is not normally how it works because typically gold and oil are a pairs trade. For those people that are into that, but because oil is in such a strange position, we're just seeing weird stuff in that whole area. So just something that you might want to look at. Basically, I just wanted to go over the top 40 lists. Auto manufacturing is number one. Computer software is number two. That's where Adobe is. That's where Microsoft is, by the way. Microsoft, there's a good play on Microsoft that I'm going to put up on the screen. Now, what am I saying about good plays? Well, typically what I like to do when we're in sort of this sideways market where the market is trying to find direction up or down, I do think that the market is going to go further down, but there's been so much support, there's been so much liquidity injected into the system that the Spider, which is the basically the largest ETF in the world, it's been trading up today. Actually, it's now down a little bit in session, but that has been maintaining. It seems like there is resistance at about 285 on the SPY. I believe that it's going to retest the low. I've been saying this for 2 weeks. Hopefully, I'm right. And that is, it's going to retest down at 218, which is the low that it made on March 23rd, which is basically that was the low of the current bear market. Now, interestingly enough, we are not technically in a bear market right now because the S&P has rallied up significantly. I mean, it's rallied up. A bear market, the classic definition of the bear market is that it is 20% below the high, and we're definitely above that because it has come back. It's only really down about 11%, but I believe that the other shoe is going to drop, and that when it drops, we've got to be right as short again. But right now, we want to maybe put our toe in the water with some potential long positions that might work in the meantime. One of the first ones that a play on Tesla, where you could potentially make, I'm calculating about 374 annualized percent. Now this may or may not work. I made a play like this last week. It worked out extremely well. I think it might work out well this week, but who knows? And I may be entering this tomorrow. I don't quite know exactly, but for my calculations, basically what this is that you take a position in Tesla, which is trading for about 761 right now, buy 100 shares, and then sell a covered call, sell a 250 call, which is a little bit in the money, which means that you are actually selling it for, you're actually selling a contract to buy it back from you for less than you paid for it. You think, wow, that's strange. Why would I ever do that? Well, the reason is because there's such a premium on this option. It's a $4,200 cash infusion if you were to sell this option. Of course, you have to buy the 100 shares to do it covered, but that's a way you could possibly do it. Let's see. Okay. Government manipulation. I think you're right. I think there is government manipulation in the market, and this is the reason why I think that we might want to start tilting towards some of the gold or the gold miner stocks. There's several stocks that are sort of in that wheelhouse. I really like this Franco-Nevada. I have owned it before, but I haven't owned it for at least 6 months. I found it has very good price action. It's number one in its group. I typically like to look at stocks to own long that are in the very best. In the very best sectors. Of course, there's 197 of them, and then also in the very, very best of that. So currently, Franco-Nevada, FNV, has the top slot, and it is trading basically in the 120 range, 120, 124 range. So this is interesting. Let's see. Okay, government. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. All right. Shouldn't Tesla actually go down given the low gas price? Well, that's a really good question. You would think it would, but here's the problem with that idea. Tesla, the way the stock market works, at least the way it has worked, is that the stock market is looking at the future. And right now, the future for electric cars is the only part of the automotive industry that looks good. Everything else doesn't look so hot. And, that's the thing about this market, is that the smaller cap stocks are losing favor, and everybody is crowding into the very biggest, high cap stocks. such as Amazon, Walmart, Microsoft, the usual suspects. And so basically, here's the thing with Tesla. The reason Tesla has a complete order book. It has 500. It has basically pre-sold its entire production for a year, which is tremendous. It also has about $6 billion in May. They got super lucky in that they went out for a bond issue. Not a bond issue. They went out for another. They sold some stock into the market in the sevens, in the 780 range. I believe it was 765, 780 range. It was terrific. And then of course the market tanked, but they basically have $6 billion in the bank. So they're in a good shape. And GM and the other companies, even the big manufacturers in Germany, are going to have a lot of trouble. Daimler-Benz and BMW, though I think Daimler is going to do better because it owns 10% of Tesla. I don't know if you know that, but they do. So Tesla is going up. It's still a relatively small part of the market. Electric vehicles represent less than 2% of the market, but that's changing. And I do think that going forward, we're going to see a lot more of them. But right now, the automotive sector, believe it or not, is the number one sector of all the sectors, and it's primarily dominated by one company, and that is Tesla. So I have on my Periscope feed, I have some ideas. I'm going to go put that up on the screen now. Okay, see that, and it shows you sort of in play. Let's see. Okay, thank you for taking time. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Okay. How do you think Tesla's earnings on Wednesdays will affect the stock? I think that, it's like a lot of things. Buy on rumor, sell on news. I do think after Wednesday, when they announce, and this is a very, very good thing. I don't like to personally, and this is the reason I'm all in cash, just for full disclosure. I don't like to hold stocks into earnings, because it's just too difficult to call it. I typically will buy it after earnings, the day after earnings. So I may be back in Tesla as soon as Thursday, but right now I'm out just because we're coming up on earnings, and it's very difficult to figure out how that's gonna play. I think their earnings are going to be decent, actually, much better than a lot of the other companies. So that's just my play on it. I just wanted to show you another potential play on the market, and that is my trade of the day. I'm trying to have things in the show. My trade of the day is on Franco. Is a stock, so it's a very interesting play. Is to purchase the shares. They're trading currently at 123.56. Purchase 100 of those shares and then immediately sell a call. And the call that I'm looking potentially to sell is the May 20th 125 strike call. I'm sorry. So the cost of the shares, and I misquoted this, is 123.58 as of this morning. So I'm selling it just slightly out of the money. And the proceeds for that, according to this morning, now it's changed a bit because it changes basically every hour, but the proceeds of that sale would be about $610. The upside profit, if you were to be exercised at the full value of $125, would be $142, giving you a profit of $752, or a return of about 73% on a hold of basically about 30 days. So that's a pretty good way to play it. Is there a fund for biotech? Very good question. I think there is, but I am not sure on that. Let me take a quick look and see if I can find a biotech ETF. I haven't been as active in the biotech area, but let's look at several sector ones. Yeah. Okay. The thing about the sector is that it's hard to play it because now my favorite stock in this area is a company called BioMarin. and it is a leading stock. And the reason I like them is because they do orphan drugs and they basically have total pricing power. But BioMarin is in the medical biotech stock. It's number 4 on the list in terms of the performance. So it's pretty good in terms of keeping in that very top 40 sectors. But I think ones you want to look at is symbol IBB. It's a BlackRock fund. Let me just take a quick look and see where that's trading right now. IBB for the biotech. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking to keep really quick give you an idea on this. This is no, that's not the IIB. It's the IBB. IBB. Okay. Yeah, this is an index fund on the biotech, and it's up today. Wow, it is up strong. This might be a good play for going long. Yeah, it's trading at 127 today. It started the day. Wow, it's really up. It's really up strong. That would be a one that you might want to take a look at. IBB. IBB. What are my thoughts on oil right now? Well, here's the thing about oil currently. I do think that it is going. It may go a little bit lower, but I don't see how it could go much lower than this because they're just going to cap wells. I think what is going to happen here with these low prices of oil is you're going to see some banks that have outstanding loans to this sector be in real trouble. My personal bank, Comerica, based here in Dallas, Texas, has lots of loans to this sector, and this is kind of what took out a lot of the banks here in Texas during the 1980s, were low oil prices. So this is a real danger for them lending money in this area because of the price. But I do think that we'll probably. I can't imagine. I think we're going to see a firming on the price, probably in the $11 to $12 range, which is incredible. But I just don't see how it can go much lower. I just don't think they'll pump anything. There's already too much supply worldwide and in Texas. So it's really, I do believe though that the Texas Railroad Commission is probably going to step in and allocate production, at least here in Texas. And then of course that would be for the US as well. Right now, there's 3 major sources of oil in the world in terms of region. Of course, there's OPEC. Everybody knows that. There is the Russians, and then there's the Texas Railroad Commission, which is basically sets the prices. It doesn't really set the price, but it used to allocate the production in Texas, and I think that they're going to start to play a lot more of a role than they have in the past. Wow, I'm seeing oil at 8.77. I just can't imagine it going much lower than that. But again, they're not accepting it in the oil terminals at all. So, I mean, Cushing, Oklahoma, as far as I know, is full. Of course, the president has been floating an idea of buying oil for the strategic reserve during this period of time. Actually, not a bad idea because I just can't imagine it ever being cheaper to produce it. And as a matter of fact, most of these people are going to be selling at a loss. So that might not be such a bad idea in terms of something there to do. So basically, the question is, how much longer can the big companies last? The Exxon Mobils of the world, even Chevron is under pressure. Exxon Mobil is trading, well, it's actually trading up today. That's interesting. I just think this is a dead cat bounce. It's trading at 42. I wouldn't be a buyer at this point. I'm glad that people can do that. I'm glad that people are coming in, but I just think this is a fool's errand. I just don't see it. So I just think it's really, really bad. It's starting up manufacturing again. I actually think that Boeing is a good short. I don't think it's a good long-term play. And the reason is because the world, I don't think that the demand for air travel, at least for not passenger air travel, is going to come back anything like it was. And I also see business travel going down. That's where the airlines make most of their money. And I just think the demand worldwide for planes is going to go down now. I don't know if you saw this, but the Chinese canceled a huge order for 25 of the 737 Maxes. So right now, 2/3 of the planes in the world are parked. There's places like Marana, Arizona, where they have a lot of these planes that they land and they park them until the demand goes back up. So I just don't see Boeing being very good. I think it's a short unless they get government contracts, which they may do but their space division is not doing well compared to SpaceX. So I'm looking to see Boeing not as a long-term investment, but as a potential midterm short. I would not own it long-term. What is the best ETF for oil? Well, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know if there's any best one. There are some interesting ones like GUSH, which have done well. It is up today, interestingly enough. It's trading at 26, which I find amazing. But again, right now I want to see the oil price settle a little bit. I think that it's just not a value investing market. Even, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but Warren Buffett has lost billions of dollars in the last few weeks in terms of valuation. Now he'll probably make it back, but it's because he's done the value investing thing. He said, "Wow, things are so inexpensive." He went in and he purchased about 10% of Delta Airlines right before the dip. Well, backdoor, they don't talk about it, but he's filed to sell all of his positions. Why? Because the airlines are terrible. A lot of the other areas are terrible. I'm not saying that everything you can't make money, but what we have right now, I believe, is a dead cat bounce. And we are going to see, we're not going to see it yet, but as we go into summer, I think we're going to see companies die. I don't know if you know this, but 24 Hour Fitness is filed for bankruptcy. It looks like JCPenney's. Of course, JCPenney's has been on the sick list for, a year. I mean, I had a bond in JCPenney's. I sold it last summer. Thank goodness. I mean, I love the store, but I don't think it's going to do well. Macy's is in trouble. I think department stores in general are going to go away. I mean, Neiman Marcus, which is based here in Dallas, it's going to file for bankruptcy as well, and the family probably will buy it back from the from the bankruptcy court. But so it probably will survive in some fashion, but it's going to go down too. So I just see the consumer economy, which is 70% of our economy. I don't think it can be. I don't think people realize what's going to happen in the near future, because literally most of in the restaurant industry, almost everyone has been laid off. I mean, there's a few exceptions. I mean, there are people working at McDonald's and they're working the window at Wendy's and KFC, but they're going to be gone, and all those people aren't going to have jobs. Even with the stimulus, people haven't experienced this lack of business. I mean, I think that we could see significant homelessness by summer. I just believe it. So it sounds like I'm being totally negative, and I'm not a negative person, but I don't see most of this as good places to look for value. That's the reason I'm looking at possibly safe havens, and also the number one areas in the market being automobile manufacturing, and only really for Tesla that I'm seeing that. I'm also seeing it in, of course, the mining area, and that's primarily the gold miners, nobody else. I am not seeing it in any of the other sectors. Now, on my list, I also have a trade on Microsoft that I've put up here as well. And let's see if I can put it up here, make sure that I get it. Oh, no, it's Vertex Pharmaceutical. I also see potentially a good trade there. This is the big cap watch list that I have basically put. This is where the money is going in terms of the big funds. Number one on the list is Netflix. Everybody loves Netflix, and I just didn't understand why, because I was watching Netflix last night. Great content. They're basically going to take over for the theaters. A lot of theaters are going to die, like AMC, and unfortunately like that. Vive, another one. They're a pharmaceutical cloud, a cloud software company for the development of pharmaceuticals. It's a symbol VEV. I have traded this one successfully. It's number 2 on the list. The third one is Internet Security, FTNT, Fortinet, and then comes Adobe, And then comes my favorite biotech of all is BioMarin. I've traded this one. It's number 5 on the list. Trades for 89.56. It is, even in this market, I think it's a winner. Vertex Pharmaceuticals, number 6 on the list. I have a trade on that on my site. I mean, on the show, and that I want to show you. And that's, again, it's another options play that I normally do. Basically, buying the stock, 100 shares of the stock, and then immediately selling a call, typically just slightly or slightly in the money. Now, what do I mean by that? When you a call is the right to purchase shares of a stock at a set price in a future date, and an in the money call means that you purchase them at the time of the expiration. You're going to be purchasing them at a discount, and out of the money is it's going to expire without you doing it. But it's a great way to ease into the market long if you're unsure about the direction. Is basically to buy 100 shares at a good buy point, and then sell a covered call. Now, I do this on Tesla on a weekly basis. I'm not going to do it this week because there's earnings, but I will buy 100 shares and then I'll sell a call. And that's been very successful for me over the last few months. I think you have to go long sometimes. Yeah, I agree with you. I am getting ready to go long. I was long. Interestingly enough, I was long last week on Tesla. I bought Tesla 100 shares at 7:30 on Tuesday. I sold a call for a 7:30 call for about $28 dollars, and then it closed above 7:30, and I was exercised on that. That was pretty much my trade for the last week. It was a good trade. This week, I started out shorting the diamond, the DIA. I closed the position literally 5 minutes later when it was starting to move against me. I basically picked up a measly $7. So that's all I've done so far today. I'm all in cash. And so that's sort of the way I'm in. We wanted to make a play in the market tomorrow for the day. Okay, tomorrow, it just depends on how the futures are trading. That's what you want to look at to see what the directions of the futures are going to be. And the futures, of course, are the overnights on the S&P. I think they're going to see some weakness in the spider tomorrow. I believe we are, because it's trading up today, but I think it is basically run out of gas. But again, they're trying to milk it, because here's the thing about the spider. Is there's a tremendous, about 20% of the shares now are short in the spider. So there's a tremendous short interest. This is one of the reasons why it's getting harder and harder to play this for money like I was in the last few weeks, because people have discovered this trade, and you don't have as much of an edge on this as I did before, where people were not shorting this. I mean, in the week just prior to March 23rd, I was just shorting like crazy, and I did very well. Now, not so much. There's these snapback rallies. It's not as easy to trade it. I think we're going to have to start trading individual stocks, and so it's tough. I heard a second stimulus focus. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that there's going to be, United Health, which is one of the big, one of the big health insurance companies. It's been trading well because of this government support, but I do think there's going to be injection of a lot of liquidity into this, because I think a lot of hospitals are very, they have huge overhead, and they're not making any money really on this COVID thing, because basically, where they make the money are on the elective surgeries. And they're not getting those kind of revenues anymore because of the situation with the hospital beds being filled with the people that are infected with the disease. So there's going to definitely be support there. Now, of course, the government sort of has to support those, because they are critical to infrastructure for the national security. So that's something that's probably going to happen. Okay. Do you think mRNA or rallying or blow off? mRNA. Let me look at that one really quickly on the screen. I just want to take a look at the chart. mRNA. Okay. Yeah, look at that. Wow, I think this is a blow off top. This is Moderna. I'm not so sure because yeah, a lot of people are piling into Moderna, definitely. I don't think this is a blow off top with Moderna. I think this could go much higher. And the reason I think that Moderna could go higher is because they are definitely on the list of preferred trades they're definitely on the list. The interesting thing is the top 40 groups is still medical. It's primarily biomedical. Of course, the one I like is BioMarin, but it's not in the news as much. But yeah, I think it definitely could go higher. Moderna is a quality company. I also think J&J probably is going to do very well. We just see how J&J is trading today. I haven't looked at it since this morning, but oh yeah, it's up definitely. Now J&J possibly is a buy at the 154 level. It's going to exceed. Yeah, it's trading at 151.96. This one might be a one to definitely look at. It's looked like it's almost totally regained up to its high that it made in February. So that one, J&J also has the revenues. So definitely government support. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Moderna is definitely. Moderna's not going to go out of business. There's no question about it. Because it's it looks like they may be the ones that create the vaccine first. So definitely a lot of government support there. A lot of government money. Gilead Sciences is one that I recommended too. I've traded it, but I'm not currently in it. GILD is the symbol on that one. But the thing about the biotechs is that after this is over, and this may not be over for a while. I just don't think they're going to be as popular. But the problem is they're developing very good products, but I don't know about their profitability because it's very expensive to develop these drugs, and they're not going to be able to sell them at a real profit. Not like BioMarin in their products. USO, USO is for everyone. That is one of the oil ETFs. Yeah, it is trading at $3.85 currently. It's up slightly, but I can't see how this one was be a good one. This isn't even a good short candidate because it's so low in the market. Yeah, look, it opened up below 4. I would be in this one, but only after a turn. I would not buy this. I would not buy this one until we have seen. I wouldn't be in this one until at least it had a $6 price. I just wouldn't be in this one. The problem in this market is it's like it's not really bargain hunting. I mean you get into some of these stocks and they go down even further. I mean I could see this one actually going down to 2 if you could believe that with the situation. So why is Gush going up? I have no clue why Gush is going up, but I think that everybody is getting ready. It's kind of like everybody's getting ready for the fallout of these low oil prices, and in the hope that they're going to be able to somehow benefit from these really low oil prices. I don't think anyone's really going to benefit all that much. The only thing that's going to really happen, I believe, is that somebody is going to be able to do the lawyers will do well because a lot of these companies are going to go to the bankruptcy court. So I don't know if I just don't think it's a really good play. Oil really, in order for it to be profitable, I mean, oil has to be, believe it or not, like in the $50 range, $40 to $50 range to make it profitable in the Permian. And in 2017, when my brother and I leased some of our land in West Texas, we were doing, it was, the price of oil was like $100. So fortunately, we really lucked out on that because our contract ended, and we got it released back to us. But so hey, there you go. I mean, we benefited from it, but I don't think there's going to be much benefit in the oil patch. Probably for a while, maybe for 10 years. But I do think it will always come back. Oil will go up. Just yeah, I agree with you. Money's tied. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing about you're absolutely right. This is a really good post, by the way. Um, name dips one. Yeah, this is a good post. This is a really good observation. Oil will eventually go up because it's used in everything. It's used in all of the feedstocks for the chemical industry, plastics, and all that stuff. So we're not going to get rid of oil. I mean, a lot of people would like us to get rid of oil. Maybe as a transportation fuel, it won't be as important as it's been, but it will always be around. But the problem is we're swimming in oil because 70% of the world's countries don't produce anything that anybody wants to buy. So they sell oil. And those are companies, like Russia. Well, Russia produces guns and some aircraft, but primarily it doesn't produce anything. Saudi Arabia, which doesn't produce anything but oil. And so in Mexico, the same thing. I mean, it's really, well, they have some of the manufacturing sector with maquiladoras, but by and large, Mexico, basically sells drugs and oil. That's their primarily two exports, and of course, cartel, indentured servants. That's the other. That's the other third export. Let's see. I bought calls on the SQQQ for May. What do you think? You bought calls. That's interesting. Okay, let me look at that trade. I don't know that, normally I would say that would be good. I'd be very careful with that trade though, because okay. Here's the problem with that. Oh God. I hate to be, I'm just saying, here's the problem. It's spreading at 12.54. It could gap back up to the $30 range, but, there's just a lot of people that are short. They're just, well, the one of the things about the QQQ is that it represents the NASDAQ 100, which typically has some of the best performing stocks in it, like Microsoft, like Adobe, those kind of stocks, and the technology stocks. And so that's going to be the first one to come out of any recession. And of course, it is being bid up right now because basically money is looking for a safe haven there. So I don't know if going against it is at this point is a good idea, just because everybody's piling into SS. You see, what's so strange about this market is that the valuations have very little to do with the actual values, in my humble opinion. I mean, we're having a situation where, stocks that should be trading much lower are trading up. And the reason is because of all the stimulus money that's coming into the system. I do not think that the real impact is going to come until probably a month or two, because right now I just don't think that the market is appropriately discounting the lack of income that's in the economy right now. I just think it's just not. So it's just weird. I currently have. Do you think it's a good stock to keep at the moment? No, because I wouldn't bet against the Qs at this point, and that's a contrarian call. Now it depends on how much you're in it, but I would think about lightening your position in the SQQQ, because I think that it might reverse on you. And the thing about it, when the SQQQ reverses, it's going to reverse very, very brutally. It's going to be very brutally reversed. Now, I do think we're still in a situation, because of the market support, where we're seeing a lot of intervention in the market, and we're seeing a lot support to the market. That's the reason why I'm looking at these lists here, and I'm looking at really the safe places. And I believe, quite frankly, that one of the safe places may be gold at this point. I'm not saying go out and buy physical gold, because I don't think that's ever the best way to go, contrary to what they tell you on these things. I think that the gold miners are possibly the way to go, and there's several ones that are in there. KL is one. Let me look and see how KL is doing. It's currently lost a lot of its luster, but KL's up today. It's at 36. Okay, makes sense. This might be one you want to look at. It looks like it's forming a nice base. formed a nice base, and it looks like it may be moving higher. 36.59 right now is the price for KL. This is tradable probably up to about 50. That's one I think you might want to look at for a long. I agree with you. I don't think you want to keep the SQQQ for long term. It's not really an investment. It's a hedging ETF, and it's used to protect your portfolios when they have these rapid moves in the market. But I think we're over with that. I think that we've had this tremendous bounce off the low that we had on March 23rd, moving up to about the 280 on the spider. I think that it looks as if the spider is kind of seeking resistance at about the 285 level. That's higher than I expected. I expected to see much more resistance at the 175 level, but again, there's just a lot of intervention in this market. So, it's trading right now at 285.66. So, I mean, it may trade as high as 300. Wow, that would be incredible. If it did, then I think you're going to find an interesting period of time. But I do think it's going to reverse. I just can't see how when these reports come in from some of these big companies with their earnings, they're going to have to fire people. And if we have mass unemployment in this country, which I think we're looking at, it's going to be a horrible sight. And of course, the government's going to do everything it can to keep people employed. I think we're going to see a massive public works program in this country, kind of like out of the 1930s. I think that is coming. SPA looks good up today. Let me look at XSPA. It's an interesting one. XSPA. I have no idea what they do. This is essentially a penny stock. Instead of betting on this one, I think you're better off to try to do a more quality company. This is I don't know why this is. I mean, this essentially is a penny stock. It did have a high of $5.45, but I don't know I don't know this company at all. I typically don't like to trade stocks below $10 just because they typically are more dangerous. What was this? What was the strike on your FNV calls? The strike on my FNV calls, I just thought I would thank you for asking. And I'll show you this. I'll put you up on my site. This is my trade of the day. And I want to show it to you for everybody looking on Periscope, pscp.tv/Dallas Trading Floor. I have it up on the screen currently. And basically, the strike I'm looking at is the 125 strike. That's the May 20th 125. That's what I'm looking at. And basically, I'm looking at doing a kind of edging into the market covered call currently. As of this morning, it was trading for 123.58. I'm basically looking at doing a 30-day contract here, selling it for 125, which is basically almost at the money, just a little bit out of the money, but very slightly. And this will give this, according to my calculations, on a 30-day contract, will give you a 73% return. That's a yearly return, not an overall return. In terms of overall dollars, about 752. I'm looking at that, but I have that up on the screen so you can see it. Any advice on the TVIX? Let me look at the TVIX here, just on my other screen, real quick. I probably think that I don't think volatility. Yeah, it's down. That makes sense. 225.99 today. It's definitely in the red. I think volatility is not. I mean, the VIX is essentially a cycle. It's based on based on the put call ratio. That's how it's calculated. And right now, the put call ratio is about 0.81, which is within normal trading. It doesn't spike. Now, when the put call ratio, that's puts to calls, when it gets above 1, typically there's more calls that are sold, that are purchased than puts that are purchased. But when there's more puts purchased and less calls, that's a sign that we are moving into a period of heightened volatility, and that's what the VIX measures. The TVIX is a position that's taken by an ETF against that, in sympathy with that, on a leverage basis, a 2 times basis. So movement in the VIX will translate to a double movement. A movement of 5% in the VIX will translate to a 10% potential movement in the TVIX. Right now, I don't think we're in the volatility has come down somewhat. Again, the put to call ratio is about 0.81 right now, and not 1. If we're above 1, that would indicate that we were giving even more volatility. Typically, the TVIX does well when the put call ratio is closer or above 1. So if it's moving that direction, it's going to appreciate. Right now, it is moving lower, so not potentially a good one. Yeah, I think we might have an Amazon blow up. Here's the thing. Interestingly enough, we're coming up onto a very interesting period in that a lot of the stocks that everybody loves, like Amazon, all that stuff, everybody's piling into those stocks. So in the near future, those are potentially very good shorts. It's strange to say that, but the first to appear on the list is a good stock to short is Apple, because I believe Apple is currently overvalued in the market due to the fact that Apple is not going to be able to sell as many of its products. It's still a great company. It still has tremendous market. It's a great company, but I don't think it's going to be able to I don't think it's and it started out today trading lower. It's been trending up. The market makers are definitely trying to protect their positions, because on Thursday and Friday of last week it did trade lower, so they opened it much lower today, basically down, but it's trading at 280. I do think that in the near future, when they announce earnings, it may be a short. I just think that it may be a short down to about 220. It's right now at 279, 280. I think that it's going to digest that, and I think it's one of the most widely held stocks, and I do think it's going to trade lower after earnings. But that's just based on the fact that I think it's overbought right now as a stock. What's happening with the S&P 500? Really interesting. The S&P 500 seems to be getting resistance at about 500 seems to be getting resistance, as connoted by the spider. It's very interesting. I think that in there, I don't think it can maintain its movement upwards. I don't see it. I think we get to about 285, 290. I'm pretty much sure that within the next week or two we're going to see a significantly lower S&P as things start to report. But right now, I wouldn't be short it, because there's just read that you can't be immune to COVID-19 as a second infection as possible. Yeah, I think that definitely is true. I definitely think we're going to see a second infection level. The thing is, the U.S. is going to have oil at $4. Wow, that's incredible. We'll probably see that. Yeah, okay. What do you use for your market research? Very good question. I mostly use the Investor Business Daily, and then I use several other sites several other charting sites, but mostly the Investor Business Daily. And then I also follow is moving as it's moving now. So my primary source is the Investor Business Daily. By the way, that is essentially what a lot of the professionals use. There's a lot of other things too out there, but it's the most comprehensive in terms of its coverage. It covers literally everything in the market and every major equity and most of the bonds. So that's a great way to go. It's a little pricey on the IBD that are less expensive, and that's what I typically use. Do you like Tesla's earning to the upside? Yes, I think it is. That's a real thank you for bringing that up, by the way. Yeah, can't yeah, S&P 500 cash spending will plunge by a record 33%. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is RJC 56. This is correct. This is absolutely right. This is what's going to happen. But to be short at this point, right now, I want to market, I believe, is that they're lulling the retail investor back into the market. They're saying, oh, don't take out your 401k out of the spider. Don't get into cash. Don't do any of these things. And they're getting ready. They're going to blow the market. Everybody, their positions down 20, 25%, literally by summer. So very, 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 very careful. Stay into cash. Cash is your default position in this market, even though we are essentially in a the market is not in correction because it's only down 11% from the high. But I don't see that lasting. I just don't see that lasting. So I'm very cautious in this market. Again, I just put my pinky in the market by shorting the diamond this morning, and literally 6 minutes later, when it didn't work for me, I was out. I literally made $7.50. That's it. I'm all in cash the rest of the time. Now, after earnings, I'm probably along in Tesla at least, probably from maybe Thursday and Friday. I may sell that option. It would be extremely short trade, maybe a 2-day trade on that I'm looking to do. So short interest volume on the SPY is slowly increasing day by day. Absolutely. More bearish than bull. Yes, exactly. This is exactly what's happening. I'm currently looking to short trade the spider myself. This is what I've been sort of advocating for about 3 weeks now, or 4 weeks now. I did very well shorting it initially. But here's the problem when you have so much short interest is that you have these covering rallies that are horrendous, these snapback rallies. One thing, when you do short the SPY, be very careful. Set your stop losses very close, 3 to 5%, because these covering rallies can just wipe you out. So, but I definitely see it. The smart money is going to short the SPY. I'll probably be there too, and it's a good way to go. Thank you so much. Okay, I think that my next 2 days. Yeah, 292 resistance. This is really good. You obviously are definitely a Fibonacci guy. This is definitely, yeah, 292. I suspected I was a little bit too liberal on that. I figured that too conservative on that. I figured the resistance was about 78. I misread it. I think you're closer to the mark at 292, in that range. I think once we hit that, I think we're going to see some very, very powerful movement to the downside. And when you have these these movements to the downside, you can make some very, very good quick money by shorting the SPY. And what I mean by that is going short on the SPY and then covering later. My phone died, and I put $2 million on Tesla paper trading. Yeah, wow. Okay. Well, I have made good money in Tesla, and I still think that after earnings, it may be one of the few longs out there. Again, I only have a very few trades that I'm looking at right now because I'm just basically bearish. And I'm going to show you this last one on Periscope and on YouTube, and that's my trade of the day. It's Franco-Nevada. Gold. It's a gold company. They don't mine gold, but they have positions in gold miners, and I think it's a tremendous stock, and I think there's going to be a flight to gold here, at least in the short term, even though it doesn't really make tremendous economic sense. Great. Well, thank you everybody for signing on and taking a look here. I so appreciate it every day. It's so great to get information. Oh, wait a minute. I have two Thank you very much. I have two trades. USO is a buy right now, down to the 3.8 to 3.9 level. No, because I think it could go to 2 at this point. Just terrible. And then but thank you so much for that information. The SPY, a short volume is slowly going up, more bearish sentiment. Now, I agree with this. Absolutely. I think that, we're going to start this week. We're going to start to see more people going short on the spider. It's been, I've paid a lot of attention to it, and I'm still paying a lot of attention to it. I'll just put the spider chart up here right now. And I want to show you this. I want to show you this chart because I think it's really important. Now, this is as of this morning. I don't have exactly trading in that range right now, but 285.37 was the number. If you can see, there's a red line on here that's on the screen, and it's hitting the 50-day moving average. I believe that this is resistance. This is exactly where the program traders are going to start shorting it. And basically, I think that we're going to see more and more short volume, and as these companies report, you're going to see more movement to the downside, and there's potentially money making potential there. Again, thank you so very much for taking a look at my show today, and I just want to put this up on the screen too. I'm trying to put together sort of an action list. I'm a little bit shorthanded, so I apologize. Sometimes I don't get things out as quickly as I would like to, but I'm building my capability in the technology area, and I'm also working from a remote location and not at Dallas Trading Floor, which sucks because I don't have as many resources here. But I'm going to once we get this shelter-in-place thing done, I'm going to be back with more resources. But basically, we have a free stock alerts mailing list. It's just at dallastradingfloor.com, and just go to the comment section, and then just put in your information and just a little bit about what you're interested in trading, and keep in touch because it's always fun. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow. What do you thought? Oh, I'm sorry. One more question on Shopify, going up big time. Yeah, well, it's people are crowding into Shopify. Shopify is a good stock. I mean, most of the small websites are totally run on it. The thing about Shopify, that would be, as long as you set your shorts. I mean, as long as you set your stop losses very tightly, I think that's a way to go. It's a very good group. The group is basically is in the top 40. The group that we're talking about here is essentially the cloud area, and it's trading extremely well. It's the retail internet. It's number 3 out of 197 in terms of sectors. Of course, it's dominated by Amazon, but Shopify is definitely in class act, and it's something you want to consider. I currently am not. It's not on my radar based on it just doesn't have the correct chart set up right now, but it is definitely moving up. So I thank you so very much. All right. I will see you tomorrow, 11 o'clock Central Time. And again, give a shout out to me at dallastradingfloor.com. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. Peace, man. And thank you for everybody thank you to everybody who took a look here today on Dallas Trading Floor. Just wanted to, just want to thank you all for taking a look at my at my broadcast here. I'm on YouTube and on Periscope, and of course here and here. Now, if you're interested in being on our mailing list, again, it's dallastradingfloor.com, and then just put the message in the comment section, and we will get a stock alert out to you. I'm currently very short-handed, but I'll have more capabilities after this COVID-19 shelter-in-place order is lifted. Thank you again for everybody, and God bless, and stay safe. Bye-bye.